everyone, welcome to BetMeADate's YouTube channel. BetMeADate is our website where you can incentivize or bet on yourself to actually meet your dating goals. Please click subscribe and like us and click the bell. Shoot us a comment below if you have any tips or feedback, or if you'd like to see us cover different topics. We'd love to get your feedback. Also, please do not forget to subscribe. It's really important. Share us with a family member or friend, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Also, check us out on BetMeADate.com. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to BetMeADate. I'm Dr. Aviva Gaskill, and my speaker today is Katie Ziskind, who's going to be speaking with us about dating on the spectrum. Katie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm so happy to be here. I just love this channel. It's so positive and just has so many great real life tips. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. So what that means is if you're struggling with dating, I can help you build a healthy relationship. And if your child or adolescent has anxiety or self-harm, or might even be questioning their gender, I run a group practice, and all of our therapists help with those things as well. And I love helping people find their own confidence and really their own sense of their uniqueness in the world when it comes to dating, to really create a positive, healthy relationship. And sometimes that can be hard.
Yes, definitely. So we're going to talk today a little bit about dating on the spectrum. Can you tell us a little bit about the autism spectrum in general?
Yeah, so oftentimes, this is diagnosed when children are young, but sometimes people can, be in their late 20s when they're diagnosed as well. So, and it's very different for each person. So I'm going to share some general trademark signs.
Right.
And you may be experiencing this with a friend. Maybe you are experiencing autism and are living with these symptoms, or maybe you're a parent and you notice these in your child. So, or in your spouse. And autism means that someone has challenges with communication and reading emotions. So that means difficulty with social interactions, difficulty reading body language. So if I smile, Aviva, you might smile, and that would be a mirror or interaction.
Right.
Someone with autism will not have that same ability. They might see Aviva smile and then remain very blank and have like a one to mirror as easily. And that is one reason why it makes dating hard. Also, people with autism tend to have obsessive interests. So there's an element of maybe having a very fine focused interest. So one adolescent I was working with loved Disney and Disney characters and Disneyland and Disney World and Mickey Mouse and Pluto and the whole thing. And every conversation with a peer in middle school had to revolve around Disney characters. And if that peer wanted to talk about science or about, Winnie the Pooh or, superheroes, that person shut down. What basically became disinterested and nonverbal and just wanted to play on their phone and play games. So a lot of times it's challenging and it's a big adjustment. And so certain social emotional elements can really help in terms of reading body language and reducing repetitive behaviors, or knowing when to call on those. Sometimes people with autism have body spatial needs. So if you say, and I see this sometimes when I teach yoga, of like if you say raise your right arm, they might raise their left arm or raise their right leg. And so there's this connection that's a little bit off with some body spatial piece. Sometimes we have the opposite impact with autism, where someone is highly muscular and has really defined muscles and is like an ox, or like could do 12 hours of landscaping in a day and have no problem. So we see a physical change as well in the body sometimes when there is autism. And behavior, occupational, and speech therapies, as well as counseling, can be really, really beneficial. Someone who has autism can have a full-time job and have a relationship. And, you can really, if you have autism, you can rent or you could buy a house. You can decide what style of living fits best for you. And therapy can help you, I think, also realize that there are other people like you, that sometimes it can feel very limiting. Like, oh, a lot of my clients that are young adults will say, oh, I know I'm different, but I still can't figure out how to have a conversation. So we work a lot with role play. We do a lot of, therapy is a safe place to kind of break down those fears. And sometimes there are additional um, stressors to autism. So perhaps you're a young adult or an adult with autism and looking to date, but perhaps you also, have some trauma in your background or have social anxiety or struggle with depression, and those can also complicate dating.
Yeah, I was so what are some specific challenges that you see with folks on the spectrum in dating? Is it things like challenges reading body language? Do people who are on the spectrum maybe tend to prefer to date other folks who are on the spectrum?
Yes, I mean, I really think it's important to be upfront when you're dating and just say, "Hey, this is who I am. Like, I'm on the spectrum." Like,
Yeah.
and to give someone compassion. Um, Oftentimes, I think, you know, people on the spectrum may find someone else on the spectrum, but their partner may not necessarily. Maybe someone doesn't find out they're on the spectrum until later on in life, and they come off as very, very educated and come off as like more professional, or come off as like maybe scientist or something. And then once they're in a relationship, kind of these features of struggling with communication and struggling with reading emotions, maybe come up at that point. I think that a big piece of it is having confidence, because through 20 years of getting rejected by peers, by being maybe excluded or bullied, there can already be this baseline of low self-esteem and low self-worth, that where you might be saying, oh, well, no one's going to date me anyway, or I'm a loser, or I didn't have friends in high school and no one wants to be my friend now. And
Mm,
I would encourage you to really challenge those beliefs and say, so what if someone made fun of me in high school for having special needs or having autism, or maybe freezing up when someone asks me a question, or,
yeah.
and that brain freeze is really common. Um,
And also
say to
like
yourself,
guessing
I am
else that made
awesome. I
fun of
am
for wearing a blue
confident.
shirt in high school, like
Right.
it's just what high school is.
Right, right. Right. And that's, I think, a piece of it is realizing there is a beautiful life out there, and the peers that were once in your life don't have to be the same people there. And bullying happens to so many people.
Yeah. So what are some tips
I also,
that you
yeah,
have for overcoming, sort of managing dating on the spectrum?
yeah. I think making a point to not necessarily force yourself, but really commit to the process of dating. It is not going to be easy. It's
Mm,
going to be like the hardest thing ever, right? But because it's so new, right? So think about learning to write or learning to type on a computer. Like for me, typing was like so hard. I was like, why am I doing this? And now I'm very grateful that I was put through all of that ridiculous, painful, emotionally challenging typing work in
yeah.
class. So it's going to be not fun. It's going to be like that. It's going to be like, okay, let's do something fun to reward yourself for going on a date, or for even just going on a dating app, and literally don't wait for the person to message you. So what? If you have autism and don't have autism, don't compare yourself. You are going to message 5 people and simply just say, "Hey," or "How's it going?" And just start there. I think a big piece is like knowing what to say when initiating that initial conversation. So, "Hey," "Hi." We would want to avoid things like "You're hot," or "Come drink with me tonight," "Come over tonight." We'd want to avoid those things, because that would be a little bit, one, too soon, and two, might put the person off. So, kind of some perspective taking of like how might that person feel. So, having 3 good photos of yourself on your dating app, having them at eye level, um, and you can go to your therapist and be like, "What do you think of these photos? Like, do these represent who I am?" And having, I would recommend either bullet points or full sentences in your little bio versus like a really long kind of run-on sentence, which can come off as disorganized. So um, sometimes it can be hard to understand like how to present yourself on a dating app and how to be real and share who you are, but also to someone that has never met you before, it is important to kind of start off a little gentle. And so I would say just message people, hey, or how are you, or you know, just something to just get started with that conversation
Yeah,
and
a
be that brave
simple
one.
intro, not, jumping right into the deep
Right.
dive of the pool.
Right, right. And to try to get your next step, your goal is to get to a physical in-person date, right? So like the conversation would not go to maybe come to my house. It might go to come, let's meet Saturday at a bagel shop, right? So just to kind of think of that in terms of dating.
I was thinking, has the pandemic affected dating in particular for folks on the spectrum in certain
I
ways that
think
you
it
see?
has. I think it really has, and I think that for the clients I work with, I think being online is really challenging. So they come in person with me and I enjoy that. And um, but I think it's also helping if there's a teenager that has autism and is trying to date, like encouraging the parents to set up some kind of fabricated or organized like social time for that teen. Like a lot of times parents will be like, "Oh yeah, dating is up to my teen." Yes, right, that's fine if
Mhm.
your teen is motivated with dating, but it might mean that for those parents, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do a neighborhood gathering, and like there's gonna be someone of the opposite or same gender
Mhm.
that's gonna sit at the table with you," and like they're kind of creating these stimulating social experiences for a teen. If you're an adult and dating, incorporate talking to someone in a maybe unfamiliar way or new way, but maybe if you're in line at the food store, you can really encourage yourself to say, "Hey, I like your shoes. Those are awesome." Like just start a little conversation. Challenge yourself to connect with some stranger and try to engage with them or, see how it feels for you to identify, okay, I'm not hitting on them. I'm just saying hello and then kind of navigating that new social field. So if you have to go food shopping or if you go to McDonald's, like really try to pursue that social engagement more so than you would if to really
I
help
like
yourself.
that too. I'm not hitting on someone, I'm just saying hello. There's like
Yeah.
it takes a lot of the pressure off. I think for
Yes.
anyone, whether you're on the spectrum or you're not, you know.
Yeah. It is.
Any other final tips
I mean,
for
it
us?
is it's a tough thing. I mean, yeah, I think so. I also want to emphasize, I have like two more tips, but one is
Mhm.
don't just seek a romantic relationship. So dating apps can be used for dating, but regardless, you're going to start with a friendship. So you may just, if that person that you're on the date with is saying, "Oh no, I think I'd rather be friends," don't express your deep, solemn depression so openly. Just say, "Oh, that's okay, no worries." Like, kind of almost knowing that even a friendship will help you get to that next step of
Mhm.
dating,
Yeah.
even if right in that moment it's not going to happen for you.
Yeah. Well, especially I think for somebody on the spectrum, it's still practicing socialization, even if it really is just a friendship.
Yes. Oh, I love that word, socialization. Yeah, and I think, it's something where you could say every Friday night, I'm going to sit down at my kitchen table and type on my laptop or lay in my bed and message 5 people on my phone. And with your therapist, talk about goals. Say, hey, I want a monogamous relationship, or I want to try, something else, or share fears. I'm really afraid of rejection, or I'm really afraid to be cheated on again, or kind of talking about what's underneath as well. Um, and I think it's important to understand sexual identity and sexual orientation too when it comes to dating, because this is something that's very real for people who are on the spectrum and who are not. So one term is asexual,
Mhm.
and sometimes people who are on the autism spectrum may identify as asexual or ace. Um, and this may mean that touch is not good for them. It doesn't feel good. So they might not want to hold hands or might not want to hug, or touch feels invasive. Um, and then we have another piece of sometimes people are on the spectrum, you know, a sexual identity aside, have more childlike needs of touch. So hand holding might be that's like their 100% of what feels comfortable for them. So there are kind of elements of being really upfront and saying, I just am looking for a relationship where we could hold hands. So really putting that out there. Or I am looking for a relationship where there is more touch and intimacy.
Yeah.
And then we have this piece of um, sometimes, you know, I think that there's bisexuality where you may like a male as well as a female, or kind of have that um, fluidity, or pansexual. And so these, I think, are really important things to think about when you're dating, of what gender, of what's your type, and then, kind of adding in like, what would they be able to bring to you in that relationship?
Hmm.
But I think it is important to bring up that sometimes, and I've seen this with my clients on occasion, but you may also have a real craving to have, quote unquote, like a sex life.
Yeah.
So when you're not in a relationship and you're seeking a date, but it's really, really challenging, you're feeling depressed, sometimes I see people, hire a prostitute, which is illegal. It is high risk. You can get exposed to STDs and HIV and AIDS. Um, and this is something that kind of becomes normalized a little bit sometimes, and this is a whole nother topic we could go on, but when there is a little sex addiction or
Hmm.
overconsumption of pornography and videos of that way, there becomes this a little bit of a disillusion around what a sex life would really look like in a relationship. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to add more to that, or I just wanted to kind of touch on
I think it's a great point, because I do think that that comes up with, especially the people who are on the touch craving kind of sensory end of the spectrum. That that can come up quite a bit. Well, thank you so much, though, for speaking with us about like all these different issues. It feels really important about, and I think that it's so important, because I think a lot of people think being on the spectrum looks like this one person that they know or this one type of thing, but actually it's really like there are a lot of different people and with a lot of different sexual orientations and a lot of different ways of expressing their sexuality that live on the spectrum and that cope with that. And so, um, that comes out in all these different ways. And I love how you were able to speak about that with us. So thank you. Where can people who are interested in finding out more about you and the work that you and your practice do find out?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's beautiful helping people with autism just develop confidence and get to be themselves and be authentic in who they are. And if you know someone with autism, or you have a loved one, or you yourself are looking for kind of a holistic, creative, playful approach to building clarity, confidence, and self-esteem around dating, you can head over to wisdomwithinct.com. So that's wisdomwithinct.com. And we can help you kind of build a toolbox of skills to overcome brain freeze, or if you have shyness, or kind of want to really get out there and meet someone new. And we also incorporate things like art, yoga, music, meditation, and outdoor walking therapies over video and in person. So, it's a really beautiful experience for me to always help someone, tackle these different emotional issues, and also offer them a safe place where they can learn and to apply that into the real world for mindfulness and connection.
Great, thank you so much. And everybody, don't forget to click subscribe on the link below, and let us know, comment on this episode if you want to see more topics on autism and dating, if you want to see Katie talk with us some more about different things she has to say about dating, or anything else that you'd like to share with us. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe.